Earlier this month, Australia was warned of a direct terrorist threat to sporting events in India. Now, the federal government says it's convinced that warning is without substance. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Stephen Smith, will travel to India next week to update security arrangements for the Commonwealth Games in Delhi.
Senior DFAT figures met Australian cricket players in Christchurch following threats made by a terrorist group with links to Al-Qaeda. The group claimed to be targeting the Hockey World Cup, the Commonwealth Games and the Indian Premier League.
We have done an exhaustive assessment of that, and the conclusion we've come to and the advice we've given those players is we don't regard that threat as a credible threat.
It's an assessment backed up by the Australian Cricketers Association's own security experts, but it may not be enough to convince some players to take part in the IPL. Less than 2 weeks out from the start of the competition, the IPL is yet to respond to a list of security demands made by Australia's players.
We know the plans are solid, but there's no evidence that they'll be implemented as laid out.
Security at Saturday's cricket one-dayer between South Africa and India in Ahmedabad was certainly visible, but security experts say IPL venues such as this aren't necessarily the only targets.
It'd be more the kind of thing that we saw in Pune recently, which is an IED in a rucksack left in a cafe, that kind of attack they can do fairly readily.
There's a sense that a reliance on Indian agencies for security may not be enough.
We should provide Australian Federal Police personnel with the teams that travel overseas, and I think that those people should also be trained in close personal protection.
The Foreign Affairs Minister will discuss Commonwealth Games security with counterparts in India this week, as well as attending the Hockey World Cup in Delhi.
We're using the World Hockey Cup as in a sense a dry run for preparations for Commonwealth Games security arrangements.
He'll also discuss recent attacks on Indians in Australia, something that's made it tough for Australia to claim the high moral ground.
We are certainly not lecturing India or anyone else.
Australia plays India at the Hockey World Cup on Tuesday in a meeting being billed as a goodwill match. Tim Callanan, ABC News.